So today we're going to talk about Smart Simple's Platform 3 Engage solution and the goals tracking component and module that we've constructed within Engage so that you can track your activities and contributions across the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. The goals tracking structure within the Smart Simple Platform 3 allows you to take any of your activities, whether that may be grant making, business contributions, charitable contributions, volunteering, donations, regardless of what that component may be, you can track that activity against your impact within the SDG framework, and the goals tracking module allows you to do that. So what you'll see as we're walking through this is that we have each of those SDG listed within our goals tracking module, and then it allows us to track different KPIs and contributions against those individual goals. So that across your goals, you can see each of those contributions, how they may roll up to a total from a financial standpoint, whether it's regardless of you're tracking in dollars or any other currency that you may want to track in. We can track it in that local currency that you want to utilize and then have that tracked against the applicable goals. So within an individual goal, if I were to click into one, you'll see each of the associated aspects that we've linked to that goal. So whether it's a grant, a campaign, an event that's contributed, and then each of those contributions within those areas so that we can see from a volunteering standpoint how many people have volunteered, how many hours they've contributed, tracking that in wage equivalencies so that we can have a single value across all of our efforts in impacting that goal so that we can have everything in a standardized value such as a currency value, and then rolling that up to a total contributions. But it is not limited in terms of just tracking things from a currency valuation perspective. As many of you would probably be thinking about from an SDG standpoint, you would want to have specific impact tracking metrics, specific KPIs that are important to you and your organizations, and you want to track those against the goals as well. So we've worked with organizations that have implemented this type of framework, and they've defined their own unique KPIs beyond just those that we've added as sort of a starting point or baseline within the goals tracking structure. So we've worked with one organization in Denmark where they are very water focused. And so in their case, they're tracking one of their unique KPIs is how many cubic meters of clean water have been provided as a part of their efforts and the items they're tracking. So we've added that in as a metric, and then on their activities, they then enter the value that corresponds to that cubic meters of water, and then we can roll that up at a global picture across all of their efforts to show how much has been provided across all of their activities, and then relate that back to the applicable goal. So the goals tracking structure and module within the system is where we track all of that activity, and it can all be presented in one space. And how you present this and the KPIs that are presented is going to be entirely and uniquely up to you, whether you want to present it in list form, if you want to show it as a grid with more of an emphasis on the visual appeal of those specific goals. You have a lot of flexibility in how those things are presented. But how we actually are rolling up that activity is going to be based on the other items you track in the platform. So as an example, for our purposes today, we're going to talk about it from a volunteering standpoint. But like I mentioned earlier, it could be any type of activity that you want to track that is associated to your efforts towards the SDGs, and we can then assign those and align them to the SDGs and the goals tracking structure. So to show you, we have a volunteer manager module that we're utilizing for our purposes as our example today. And so if I go into a specific volunteer event that's already been created, that's active for people to sign up, you'll see for that particular volunteer event, we've designated a specific CSR goal. So a goal that event is going to be linked to. So then any of the volunteering efforts that are presented against it can be shown and tracked against that applicable goal. So if we were to create a new event, you'll see when we create a new event, that new record we're tracking in the system, you'll see the form that we've composed for the details that we want to enter about that specific event. And whether that be the event name, the associated campaign, an organization it's associated with, all of those types of things. And each of those fields on the form you can define within the platform. So it's not prescriptive in how those forms will be presented. But in utilizing that goals tracking structure, you can utilize a field such as this CSR goal field. And whether you call that a CSR goal, an SDG goal, whatever that phrasing may be, you can then have that option to choose what SDG is this event associated to. So is it an event that's focused on clean water, or is it an event that's focused on reducing poverty? Then based on that association and the one that you select, when that event gets scheduled and when people participate and when people log their hours related to their volunteering efforts in that event, then all of that activity will be aggregated up to the goals tracking structure so that we can see that across all of our events, how much has been contributed towards that specified goal. And from a reporting perspective, that can be shown like we talked about and what we showed in the goals tracking module, but you can also present things from a general reporting perspective as well, such as utilizing charts, graphs, list reports. So in our case here, we're showing each of the goals that our organization has been working towards and utilizing that financial currency value that we were tracking and showing from a volunteering value, from a grant value, from an employee giving donation value, how much has been contributed in each of those cases to each of these specific goals. And in our case, we even set targets. So how much did we want to contribute to that goal maybe for this given year, and then be able to track against that so we can use it as a benchmark and see how far we've come to be able to meet that specific threshold. And these types of charts, like most things within the Smart Simple platform, are interactive so that you can see the specific values that are going to be important to you, toggle those things on and off, be able to export these types of aspects out of the system into different file formats for different presentations or whatever the use case may be. And we, again, don't provide you with a required way of formatting that and presenting that content. This is just one example of how you can aggregate that data, present it visually, and then utilize it in a way that's going to be important and applicable in your organization. There's other ways that you can also then utilize that SDG relationship and present data in a visual format. One of those ways is geomapping, something that we call an impact map. So an impact map allows us to create a map and then plot on that map each of the points that you want to present. So in this example, this is a map that we created for one of our clients in Denmark, where they were tracking volunteering activity. So that volunteering activity was something that they wanted to show visually and say, here's where all of the completed volunteer projects have occurred globally. And then based on their assignment and using that relationship of this volunteer event is related to SDG number 6, or this volunteer event is related to SDG number 13, then we categorized those things and then gave them their own unique indicators based on the type of event that it is. And then you can zoom in on specific areas, be able to see high-level details related to specific events so that you can see an overview, the volunteer event name, the number of volunteers that participated, and the hours that were contributed. And all of these things are, again, going to be customized to the content that you want to show within this type of tool. So if you were tracking your donations or where certain other activities are occurring, it doesn't have to be one of these specific items that you're tracking. The system can track whatever your efforts are towards those goals, and then you can align them and use an impact map like this to be able to present that information in a visual format. And it's something that's generated out of the Smart Simple platform, but it is not something that you have to just lock into the system. You can also expose it publicly. So some of our clients will generate an impact map such as this and then expose it on their public-facing website so that from the public's perspective, they can interact with the map and see where you as an organization are contributing towards those United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So as you can see, there's a variety of ways in how we can track activity in Smart Simple's Platform 3, align that to that SDG framework. And regardless of how you want to make an impact in the SDGs, the Smart Simple's Platform 3 allows you to have that type of structure to track that accordingly and have it built in for you to be able to track that activity and align it towards your goals. To learn more about Engage, visit us online or contact us directly.